Yo everybody, Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today we have a deck centered around Raticate Break from Breakpoint. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. Helps us out a ton and lets us do more for you guys. But anyway, on to the deck. I was finishing up, as I finished up the City Championships decks, I was scrolling through my list of decks and was like, I wonder what I'm going to do next. That was kind of when I realized that I had made a deck for Raticate Break and completely forgotten about it. So it's a little late, but better late than never, I guess. But anyway, this deck, like I said, is around Raticate Break with the Super Fang attack. Put damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon until their remaining HP is 10. This would go amazingly with Hypnotoxic Laser, but unfortunately that is not in the standard format, so what is the next best thing? And that is Ariados with the Poisonous Nest ability. Once during your turn, you may use this ability. Both active Pokemon, except for Grass Pokemon, are now poisoned. That is great because it essentially turns Raticate's Super Fang into a one-hit knockout on anything at all. So, I mean, this deck is very strong against EXs, except for Grass types. Then you can use Dirty Shock, which your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, and you discard all Pokemon tool cards attached to that Pokemon. So, I mean, this Raticate kind of comes in handy a little bit, additionally with the free retreat, which is always nice. But yeah, this deck does have a little bit of trouble against Grass decks, so we kind of need something to, I don't know, help clean up what Raticate starts. So that is why I have another attacker with Sceptile EX with the Sleet Poison. I mean, it does 10, which is normally what you need to get a knockout. And also Unseen Claw, as you have seen before, has great synergy with Ariados. So, I mean, Sceptile is a great attacker just to have in the back, just in case Raticate can't quite cut it. Also, with the Pokemon, we are running 2 Shaman because Shaman. I mean, it's Shaman, and you want to run Shaman because you can draw cards with it. Now, we are only running a 4-4-3 line of Raticate, Rattata, Raticate, and Raticate Break, just because, I mean, you really don't need 4 Raticate Break. I mean, if you have to use a 4th one, then you're generally not in the best spot. You only want to use like 3 or 4 Super Fangs at the absolute most to clean up a game, so you have to be selective with where you decide to Super Fang. If there's a chance to knock out an EX, go for it. If not, you might want to wait until you have a Lysander or something like that. But, I mean, either way, this is very, very potent and can be very powerful in the right matchup. Onto the items, we have 1 Escape Rope, just in case like a Shaman gets brought out or something like that, or we start with a Shaman or a Sceptile and we really don't want to. Great for just getting things out of dodge, and also acting as like a pseudo Lysander, just making your opponent switch into something that they might not want to. Running 2 Evo Sodas. Now, I normally only run 1, if that. I'm kind of a fan of this card in this deck just because it gives you a free evolution, and that is what this deck is based around. It's based around like the Rattata line evolution and the Spinarak evolution, and particularly it is great with Rattata just because, I mean, this thing only has 30 HP, meaning it gets knocked out by almost anything that can do bench damage at all. So you want to get that thing leveled up or evolved as soon as possible. We are also running 4 Level Ball just because, I mean, you get the Rattatas, you get the Raticate, you get Spinarak, you get Ariados, you get all the basic stuff you want. You can't grab Raticate Break, Shaman, or Sceptile, but I mean, that is where the Ultra Ball come in, just to guaranteed get anything you want. Super Rod, because Raticate Break even only has 110 HP, it is very frail, so it will be getting knocked out, and you kind of want to bring it back into your deck if that is the case. Running 4 VS Seeker just to reuse our supporters. We are running 1 of a couple ones that could be very important in certain matches, but just didn't warrant running 2, so VS Seeker is great for reusing those. Using Ace Trainer, I know that normally you don't want to use Ace Trainer because it's a very, very situational supporter card, and I'm not usually a fan of it, but in this deck, you do fall behind kind of quickly depending on the situation, so Ace Trainer is just great for being able to shuffle your hand back into your deck and draw 6 cards while disrupting your opponent. We're running 2 Bridget. I again, I'm normally not a fan of Bridget, but in this deck, you get Ratatas out, like, you just swarm them as soon as you can. And also, getting a Spinnerack out is also a very, very nice touch. One Judge just for late game if you want to keep your opponent from potentially drawing something that they need. I mean, it's just a good disruption card. One Lysander to bring out those Shaman EXs if you're against a deck that doesn't rely on them, or just for disrupting your opponent and taking out an essential Mon, I guess. 2-3 line of Sycamore and Birch just for draw support. One Teammates, again, your Pokemon are going to get knocked out quite frequently, so Teammates is great for just searching for a DCE or something like that. Whatever you need, I mean, that's what Teammates is used for. Onto the stadiums. Now, if we run up against a grass deck, if it's a Mega Grass deck, Fated Town also can come in handy really, really quickly in a pinch. Because if you're against a Mega deck, you can use Super Fang with Raticate Break, and then between turns, just put 2 damage counters on the Mega Pokemon, and they are knocked out. So you don't even necessarily need an Ariados in the Mega matchups. I mean, I highly recommend putting Ariados out there anyway, just because particularly Raticate cannot be affected by special conditions. So you can just go ahead and Ariados Poisonous Nest, just get some damage racking up, even if you can't necessarily attack that turn. But Fated Town is great for getting some more damage on those Megas and just getting another way to get that last 10 damage on everything. Well, not everything, the Megas, like I said. Now, this deck doesn't really rely on damage, like specific damage output per se. I mean, Raticate Break has a specific type of damage that it hits for, and it can't really be increased or decreased with items. So I'm actually going with Floatstone. Now, this may seem weird because Raticate has free retreat, but it's mainly for Spinnerack and Shaman, just so we are able to get those out of the active for free. And I really couldn't think of another item to use. I mean, it could potentially use Hard Charm, but Raticate Break is just so frail anyway that it usually doesn't matter. I mean, it could run a Muscle Band for Sceptile, but you normally only want to be using Sceptile as a last-ditch attacker. We are running 4 DCE, just because that's what Raticate Break runs on, and you want to run the absolute max number of those. And then 5 Grass Energy for the Sceptile, and then also to maybe manually power up Raticate and Raticate Break in the back. I could potentially see using a Milotic in this deck, much like it uses Night March, or much like it is used in Night March, but I think that this Pokemon line is too heavy already, and you want to have the backup attacker in Sceptile, and additionally the 2-2 line of Spinnerack Ariados for that little extra damage. So I don't see where it would fit in, but if you want to give it a try, feel free. But anyway, I am done rambling. Let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against a State of Sona, and I don't know how we have the advantage. I mean, I'm using Raticate. I mean, it might be in the top percentage, but I'm still using Raticate, so I don't understand how we have the advantage. Hopefully we will get to go first. I mean, that's what I'm really hoping. No, we don't. Never mind. I cry. So, let's just see. Yep, my opponent's going to go first. Really, this is not starting off well. We even start with a Sceptile, which I guess can maybe stall for a turn or something like that with Sleep Poison, if I can get heads or something like that. So we will see. I mean, we have a hand that we can kind of work with, but it all depends on what I draw. This is interesting. So it's a, like, Pumpkaboo Kangas... What? I don't know what type of deck this is. It's probably like a Gourgeist, the one with like 200 HP or something like that, or the ability that gives it 200 HP. Oh, it's the one with like, it's like a Metagross. Yeah, it's one of these decks. So this will be kind of a tough matchup just because he will be able to hit us so frequently and hit us for a lot of damage. Luckily, I do have Judge, which will be incredibly important in this matchup because it will just put my opponent down to a hand of 4 cards to where their attacks will... Or not, never mind, we just win. That obviously does not count because you didn't see anything, I didn't even get a turn, but yeah, let's just go ahead and try to find another one. Alrighty, we have found one against Shiro L with a Water Psychic deck. Oh man, if this is a Greninja deck, we'll be in some trouble. But hopefully we will get to go first. That's what I'm really hoping, that my opponent does not win the coin flip. So we will see the coin flips just going and going. I mean, I can understand why my opponent's taking a while. And we lose the coin flip. Oh man, I have not won I haven't won a coin flip today, so that's slightly frustrating, but I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. Hopefully we start with a Sceptile then, because it's a... Nope, we start with a Spinnerack. I mean, we could potentially, like, stall, I guess, but with the String Shot, so we will see. Let's just go ahead and start with that. I don't have any other Pokemon. Hopefully we don't get donked by, like, a Latios or something like that, but then again, that would mean my opponent was running a Dragon deck. So is this just like a Gengar Bats deck? Huh, interesting. That's not a good matchup for us just because Raticate really needs the EXs to be able to get 2 prizes on a lot of it, and it doesn't look like my opponent's running any EXs, so this could be slightly a problem. Yeah, there's the Remoraid, so this is not one of the matchups I like. I mean, I prefer playing EXs just because you get to knock them out really quickly. Oh man, we have to discard a Super Rod and Eradicate Break. Ugh. Or what I can do actually is I can go ahead and Level Ball for a Rattata, play this down, Ultra Ball, get rid of the Energy and the Eradicate Break for a Shaman, go ahead and Super Rod back in both of these. Go ahead and play the Floatstone onto the Spinnerack, play the Shaman down, draw until I have 7. If I can get a Bridget or something, that would be great. No, I don't. However, I do get another Level Ball, which I can use to just grab a... Probably just grab another Rattata, I think. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Play this down, play the DCE onto, I guess it really doesn't matter which one I play the DCE on. It does mean that that will be the target of an attack, so I kind of want to save it, and then go for a Judge, get my opponent down to 4 cards. We even get a Sceptile and Sceptile Raticate, so that's, I guess, something. So I'm going to play the Sceptile down, and then just end my turn here. What I can do next turn is evolve the Rattata on the bench into the Raticate, and then Ultra Ball for another Shaman, get rid of the Sceptile and whatever I draw. Hopefully I don't draw a DCE, because that is the last thing I want to have to discard. And there we go, we do see the Golbat, and that is why I didn't want to attach a DCE to a Rattata, just because they do get sniped, and if my opponent has an Energy, that means he will be able to knock out the Rattata with the Swoop Across. So, I mean, that's one of the problems with this deck is Rattata has so little HP, and my opponent even gets heads, so he will be able to knock it out next turn if I don't get something for it. If I'm actually probably going to try to evolve it, that way my opponent can't knock it out. I get another Raticate, so that's not necessarily what I want to discard, but I have to do it in order to be able to draw and get something. So let's just go ahead and grab the other Shaman, and then see if I can get something off of that. So we do get to draw until we have 6 cards. We get something we can work with. So let's just go ahead and get the Ariados. Play the... I think go ahead and Poisonous Nest, the Ghastly. And then retreat into the Sceptile and probably just play the Energy onto it and go for a Sleep Poison this turn. I think that's probably the best course of action. I mean, it really doesn't matter if he got Tails, or because I mean he just woke up again. And also I have a great hand for next turn. I will be able to Super Fang if my opponent decides to, I mean, I guess if he leaves it in, so he probably will try to target down the Raticate again, or he's going for the Sceptile in the active, I guess. So let's see, what is Misty's Determination? Discard a card, look at the top. Okay, so that's a pretty solid supporter. I don't necessarily like it just because you have to waste your supporter for the turn on it, so it's kind of slow. But I mean, I guess it's pretty solid overall because he will be able to grab a card, and if it's a Haunter or something, he will be able to confuse my Sceptile. Not that it's going to do any good per se, but alrighty, so we're in a solid position. What I am going to go ahead and do is play the DCE onto this Raticate, play the Raticate Break, play the Floatstone onto the Sceptile, and then go for a Professor Sycamore. Get rid of a Rattata, but that is okay. Hopefully we'll get a Raticate Or, I mean, I guess that's just as good. Let's go ahead and Ultra Ball away the energy and the Professor Birch's observations to grab another Raticate. And what I think I'm actually going to do is not attack this turn. I mean, I could do it. Actually, you know what? I think what I kind of wanted to do was do it so not attack so that I could take a prize coming back into my turn. But if he has a Haunter in his hand, then that will just be a turn wasted. And I kind of just want to put the pressure on my opponent. So I'm just going to I'm going to keep the Faded Town in case I need something to discard. Go for the Sleep Poison. It'll knock out the Ghastly. I mean, it doesn't matter if he got heads or not because he's just going to be knocked out, and we will take a prize. I mean, I kind of wanted to do something cheeky just because my opponent had 2 cards and most likely didn't have a Haunter, but if he did, I didn't want to take that chance of potentially just losing out on the opportunity that I had to get an early knockout, especially because, yeah, there we go, my opponent will be able to kind of get some damage spread around, and he even has the observations in hand and gets heads off, so that definitely was the right move to just knock out the whatchamacallit. Yeah, the whatchamacallit, that's so specific, right? Don't you just love how great I am at commentating? We do see the Dimension Valley, meaning he will be able to attack for free, which is kind of why I saved the Faded Town. I mean, it's not going to serve much purpose in this match. However, it will just be a good counter stadium against my opponent. I will actually be able to knock out his Crobat this turn with a Super Fang from my Raticate break, so that's something that's pretty positive. And then we could also get another Raticate break off of the drawing or whatever we draw. So we'll see what he skill dives. I'm wondering, he might try to target down a I'm not sure what he'd do. I mean, I think that's why he's taking so long. He's trying to figure out, okay, he just goes for the Raticate, tries to set it up for like a Gengar or something like that. We see the Professor Birch's observation. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that. Play the DCE onto the Raticate. Go ahead and retreat into my Raticate break. Go for the VS Seeker, see what we've got. I kind of want to keep the Faded Town, but then again, like, it's not that important. What is important is keeping draw support up, so I'm going to go ahead and Professor Sycamore, get some more cards. We do even get an Evo Soda. Did I evolve the Raticate this turn? I don't think I did, so let's just go ahead. Well, of course I didn't evolve it, because otherwise it wouldn't be alive if it was a Rattata. So let's go ahead and evolve that, and go for a Poisonous Nest, so that the Crobat will be KO'd by a Super Fang this turn. So that was a pretty solid turn for us. We have another Raticate break powered up in the back. We have a Sceptile that can use Unseen Claw if we need it. And, okay, we get an Escape Rope, which can act as a pseudo Lysander, depending on what my opponent brings out. So I'm thinking, yeah, he'll bring the Zubat, because that is probably the most expendable at this point. I mean, he doesn't need the tick damage. He needs the Gengar to start hitting stuff, and what I can also do is, so he Rare Candies into the Gengar. That kind of seals it. What I am going to do this turn is go for if he has a Dimension Valley, an Energy, and a Golbat, he can knock out this Raticate, but that will also put his Gengar in peril. I think I'm going to Escape Rope regardless. That way I will be able to knock out either the Gengar or the Octillery, both of whom are more important to my opponent than the Zubat. So it looks like he has an Ultra Ball, gets rid of a Haunter and another... Is that another Zubat? Yep, okay, so he grabs the Golbat. So I think my opponent, he might have the means to do it this turn. Also kind of cool is that Sceptile is able to knock out the Gengar in one hit with Unseen Claw. So I mean, that's why I have Sceptile there as a backup attacker. That way you don't have to completely rely on Raticate break just to kill everything. Do you see the Sacred Ash getting a bunch of things back? Hopefully it won't matter, but I forgot that you have to click every time if you want to if you want to use it. So odds are my opponent will be able to knock out my Raticate, or it just goes for the swoop across. That is just fine. What I think I am going to do still is the same thing I was thinking of doing last turn, is go for the Escape Rope. Just probably switch into my other Raticate break. It really doesn't matter. Either way, my opponent has to sacrifice something. He decides to sacrifice the Octillery. That is just fine with me. I can play the energy onto the Sceptile, go for a Poisonous Nest, and take another prize this turn. So, actually, if I have a Lysander, I do not. Whatever, that is just fine. Go for the... Hold on, it's poisoned. Yes, just making sure. Go for the Super Fang, knock out the Octillery, and there we go. Alright, so now some of his draw support is gone, and that is great. He still has the Crobat, which could be a little bit annoying, but, I mean, he will probably try to evolve it this turn. If he has an energy, he'll be able to knock out my Raticate Break, which he more than likely does. I mean, then again, both of them have free treat, so that really doesn't tell me based on what he played. So we will see. We will definitely see what my opponent has. He has a Lysander, bringing in the Shaman, probably trying to stall for a turn, I guess. Yeah, that looks definitely like what he is trying to do. Goes for the Supercross. That is just fine. I have an energy in hand, and I also have a couple DCEs, so I'm just kind of sitting on my hand at this point because I don't need to do anything. I'm just going to retreat into probably the Raticate Break with more damage on it, and then go for a Poisonous Nest. I mean, I don't need to play anything from my hand, but I mean, I definitely could, but I don't need to, which is why I'm sitting on it, because I have a bunch of resources that I like, so I'm just keeping them. And then let's just go for the Super Fang, knock out the Golbat with the Poison, and take another prize card. So we are in an excellent, excellent position. We were able to get fully set up, and I even have another Rattata and Raticate in the back for when I need to play those down. For when one of the Raticate breaks inevitably gets knocked out. I mean, my opponent unfortunately doesn't seem to have drawn a single energy, which is sad. Wait. Yeah, that's right, I cannot be confused because of Raticate. And we do see the Bridget, so my opponent will be able to, I guess, stall for a couple more turns, but it's not that big of a deal anyway because... Yep, my opponent just scoops because we did have the win. I mean, we had 3 attackers that could knock out in one turn. I mean, the only way he could do that is if he knocked out my Ariados, which it didn't seem like he had the means to do, especially because he only had 20 damage on it. So we do win that match. Raticate Break was able to come through. It wasn't the normal type of battle that I usually have with Raticate Break, where I'm able to just knock out 3 big EXs. I had one match where I knocked out, I think, 2 Mega Mewtwo X EXs and a Hoopa. I mean, obviously the Raticates just kind of got destroyed in the process, but I was able to hit him with 3 Super Fangs with the Poisonous Nest and able to knock out those guys. So I mean, that's what Raticate Break can do. It's kind of a slow deck, and Rattata is very frail, so I don't necessarily think it's a particularly competitive deck, but it certainly is fun, particularly destroying somebody with a top percentage rat. Yes, that is a Joey reference. I'm sorry, I had to make it. It's a Raticate video. But anyway, that is the deck, guys. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.